So as I've said many times before, ultras are definitely not something that are to be underestimated. They're not easy. The more you train, the more experience you get. There's definitely a spectrum of difficultness. You know, a 50K on a rail to trail might be pretty easy. A 50K in the mountains with 10,000 feet of gain, it's going to be a little bit tougher. But in the end, if you go out and challenge yourself, that's what it's all about. That's what you walk away with. You walk away with this kind of life-altering experience that you've pushed yourself way beyond limits that you thought you had, especially at the beginning of ultra running. You really surprise yourself, and I can tell you it does change your life. But I wanted to talk a little bit about how many times I've quit. How many times have I quit ultra running? And those of you who have run ultras are probably going to have a little bit of a grin on your face. I've quit probably almost every time I've run an ultra. Usually in the middle, I've quit halfway past the middle, so about 3/4 of the way is another way to put that. I've quit. You quit in the end, but ultimately, when you get to the finish line, you cross it, that's when things start to make a change. You start to think, it wasn't that bad. I finished. All that whining and crying over the last 40, 50, 60, 80, 100 miles plus has just been that. It's been whining. It's been your body fighting your brain, telling it that you're dying. And through that training, through that mental grit, through that toughness, you found a way to finish. And you walk away with that, and you now know you can do it. Given the right circumstances, all the variables that can come into play, that day you could do it. Next time it may be different. I've had that happen in ultras where the same course was finishable one time and not another. But quitting is something your brain and you as a person are going to have to deal with. The possibility of it, the possibility that you really don't want to quit. Usually within a week after finishing a large race, I'm back looking. Got to do it again. And it happens every single time that this tells you how much ultras are just a mental challenge. They really are. I know they are physical, but our bodies can endure way more than we think we can, than we think it can. The brain is able to be manipulated. The brain is able to be argued with and pushed to do things it doesn't want to do. And that's ultimately why I do this. They're always hard. Every single time I go out and do this and think, well, I've done 26 of these. And the universe will find a way to find me a new challenge that humbles me. It says, you know what, doesn't matter how many of these you've done, you're not the man. And I get that. So then I go through the periods of getting out of shape and then wondering, man, do I still have it? Do I still have the ability to push through this stuff? And I can tell you, whether or not I've been in the best shape I've ever been or in questionable shape, I've been able to finish under both circumstances. That's why I'm telling you it is mental. You're gonna quit. You're gonna quit in races, before races, after races. The real battle is, are you gonna stay quit? Let's talk about how to begin or get back into running. So picture this, whether you're a new runner, perhaps maybe you've been out of the running scene for quite a while due to life's commitments. Believe me, I have been there many, many times and documented it on this channel. Comebacks are hard, but they're definitely worth it. You want to start with some short runs, maybe just run for a couple minutes, jog for a couple minutes, then walk for 5 or 10 minutes. And you want to do this for a couple weeks. Or if you're feeling more adventurous, aim to cover a 1/4 mile. Maybe just, for example, you live near a park. You run from one bench to the next bench, or one from light pole to the next light pole. And for ultra runners out there, returning from a heavy race schedule and you've been off for quite a while, just recovering, this could mean scaling back just a couple of miles at a conversational pace
waiting to get things back up, getting greased up, getting oiled up, lotion, motion is lotion, as the saying goes. This approach helps build your base without overwhelming your body. Next, let's discuss progression. Imagine you've been running for a month and you're feeling really good. Now, instead of doubling your distance overnight, because I know it's quite tempting sometimes to just start great increases to your running schedule, you don't want to do that. You want to increase by no more than 10% weekly, and sometimes that can be hard. You got to be disciplined. So if you ran 3 miles this week, next week you want to try for maybe 3.3. This isn't just a numbers game. It's about allowing your body, your muscle, your tendons, your joints to adapt, and the fascia, all that stuff, to get used to the pounding on your feet again. Think of it like this. If you're an ultra runner, you wouldn't just jump from a 50K to a 100-mile race. Maybe that's a bad example. A lot of us do that out there, but you probably shouldn't just do that without some training. You want to take some responsible and healthy intermediate steps in between those distances. The same principle applies here, but on a smaller scale if you're just starting off. Listening to your body is crucial. Let's say you're out on a run and you start to feel a sharp pain in your knee. You may just want to walk instead, power hike up the hill. Ultra runners know this well. After a long race, the body signals when it's time for recovery, not more running, even though it's hard to kind of back off a little bit. Rest days aren't just a suggestion, they're a necessity. Using them to do light activities like yoga or stretching or swimming, which can aid in recovery without stressing your body even further. Now let's get practical with scheduling. Imagine your week is packed with work, family duties, and maybe some social commitments. It's just taken over your week. You need to treat runs like an essential part of your schedule. And if you're a morning person, maybe that's when you take advantage of the morning hours. Get up a little bit earlier. Maybe get up at 30 minutes earlier than you're normally going to get up. Get something in. Get a run in. Get a walk in. Get the weightlifting in. Or if you're at work, use your lunchtime if you can do that for a quick 20-minute run or a workout, just to do something, especially if you're starting off. You need to keep that momentum, that consistency going so that you don't just stop, because it's really easy, especially at the beginning when you're getting back into things, to kind of stop. You're just feeling unmotivated. You're feeling like, what does it really matter? You have to block off that time and take advantage of the time you can make instead of the time you just have, which could be eaten up by everything else. So set reminders on your phone. Use an app like Strava or Runkeeper to plan and track your runs. Even if life throws you curveballs, those 10 minutes or 20 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever you can squeeze in, can make a huge difference. And it definitely does with consistency. Investing in the right gear is investing in your health. So let's say you've been in the same sneakers for 8 years. I know plenty of people just wear the same running shoes for forever. It's time for an upgrade. Visit a specialty running store where they can analyze your gait and suggest some shoes that will support your run, your running style, your foot style, how you plant your foot, your gait, all of that kind of stuff. Get in the right shoe. And for clothing, think about what you already have that's comfortable. You can get away with a lot with running, but steer clear of cotton and basketball shorts when running. I see people running in this stuff. Move on from that and get some respectable, functional running clothing. Remember, a good pair of socks can also make a huge difference in preventing blisters. Don't short yourself on the socks and the shoes. You don't want to get blisters, because then that's definitely an excuse to stop running. Motivation can fluctuate, but here's how to keep it steady. Set goals that feel achievable. And maybe for new runners, it's running 3 or 4 times a week, or for ultra runners, it's competing in a race and not getting injured. That may be a good goal. It's hard sometimes out there for us. Celebrate these milestones. Post a picture of your run on social media, share it with your running group, or treat yourself to something you enjoy. Joining or forming a running group yourself can be a game changer when it comes to motivation and creating a community around you. I did that a long time ago, and now look where we are. And perhaps there's a local group that meets at the park near your house or in your neighborhood. Every Saturday, you could join them and just take off, and you have someone to run with always. Built-in motivation and accountability right there. Or you could start one yourself. Be that guy or gal. Sharing the journey with others who understand the highs and lows of running can be incredibly motivating. Running isn't just for your physical health. It's a mental health booster. And imagine you've had a stressful week, and instead of reaching for another cup of coffee, right here, sorry, I'm guilty. Put on your running shoes, get out there and get moving. The endorphins from a run can lift your mood, clear your mind, and help you manage stress or anxiety. definitely does help me. And for those of you who are over 35, running can be especially beneficial for cognitive function, keeping your mind sharp as we all age. Engaging with the running community can transform the experience of running. Think of the last time you shared a story about a challenging run or ask for advice at dealing with an injury. It's always good to bounce that stuff off each other. I do it all the time. That connection can be invaluable, whether it's through your local club where you meet weekly for runs or online forum where you discuss everything from nutrition to race strategies. These interactions can keep you inspired and informed. Do it right here on this channel or in the Strava group. We're all here for you. Remember, running is about the long haul. It's not just about reaching a finish line, but enjoying the journey, improving your health, and maintaining mobility and mental clarity over the years. Embrace each step, learn from every run, and look forward to the personal growth that comes with it. Running over 35 isn't about outpacing your younger self. It's difficult to do that. It's going to be a rough time if you're constantly worried about what you used to do. It's about enjoying running in a way that's sustainable and fulfilling and healthy for you and for me. Start small, progress wisely, listen to your body, plan your time well, so you're not always stressed. Gear up with the right stuff, connect with others, and appreciate running, not as an exercise, but as a lifestyle. I want to discuss 5 things that I wish I knew when I first started running ultramarathons. Things have evolved for me over the last 10 years of ultramarathons and 12 years of trail running, and many years before that of road running. And one of the things I find extremely unique in the trail running and ultra running community is the support and love for one another. And I've seen it consistently across dozens and dozens of races. It is not something that's unique to one area. Some of them can even be cultish, like the Yeti trail races. I love those people. Consider myself one. Even got run 100 miles with those people multiple times, and it is cultish. It is a love for one another, and I've always thought about why that is. Why do trail runners and ultra runners have this kind of different community than, let's say, road runners? And I think it really comes down to kind of this mutual respect for one another. We're going out and we're trying something extremely hard that is very possible that we will fail at, that we definitely know given a finishing. But we're all going out. It's like we're all going out into battle against the same exact thing. We're not competing against each other. Now, some are. The elites are racing each other, and some people out there are racing each other. But a majority of us are going out there for the shared experience, the support, the camaraderie, the communal aspect of it. It's an extremely amazing feeling to start a race and not be kind of have this anxious feeling that you're racing each other. It's like you're in a boat. I just feel like that. Like you're in a boat. You're all getting ready to go across the sea. We're in this together. I'm going to pull you. You pull me. I'll push you. You push me when I need it. And it is such an amazing thing. And I wish everyone can kind of feel that. That's why I push so many people towards trail running, because it's just so much different than road running. And I don't mean to constantly kind of poo-poo on road running. Road running is perfectly fine for what they do, what it is. It's a completely different sport, and comparing the two is just not fair. But there's definitely a very close-knit communal aspect to trail running that I think everyone should experience. It's just something, once you do it, you're like, this is it. It's kind of that one team, one fight aspect. Now, number 2 would be that the shared experience. So, we are going through a very unique challenge. And so I'm saying, so when I first got into this, I didn't know this stuff. I didn't know that you're going to be going out. I just figured you're on your own. Good luck. But there's this very unique challenge of starting this very hard thing and finishing it. And you're kind of, like I said, you're in this with someone else. And there's this unique challenge to ultras. Not many people go out and do things that they can fail at, that you plan for months and months and months. You train for months and months. You have crew come in. You have plane tickets. You could have lodging, entry fees, and you have a team behind you, and you can fail. I mean, I think if you've explained this, even beyond the simple aspect of going and running in ultra 50 miles, 100 miles, multi-day races, that people would hear this and be like, you did what? If you explain to them how much money and time and resources kind of go into this thing, it's extremely difficult, I think, to take that all in. But I think that is what makes it so unique. That's what makes everything so wonderful about it, because it is the journey. You're going through, you know what it takes for someone not only to run a race, but then to say, sure, I'll come out and help you. Because you're sitting there for hours. I mean, I after my first ultra, I had this deep appreciation. I had one of my best friends come out, and she paced me. She had her husband and her kids, my wife, and our kids were out in the middle of nowhere. And I didn't even think about they're going to be sitting out for 12 plus hours in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere, dirt roads, no amenities, no bathrooms. I didn't think about that because I'm out doing my thing. And then I started to realize more and more how special it is to have people around you that will do these things for you, that will crew you, that will come work aid stations. Like, this is a common thing, and this is an amazing thing because it's difficult. I've crewed an aid station, and it's blast. I tell you what, I mean, if there's a next thing that's as fun as racing, I think working an aid station, if you've worked an aid station, let me know down in the comments. I think working an aid station is almost more fun because you get to see the struggles. You get to see the people coming through, and you get to be the one going, you got this. You look fantastic. Here, eat this banana and this gel. And it's that aspect of it's almost this kind of morbid appeal, this love, because you know what they're going through. And working an aid station is an extremely unique experience. So if you haven't done that, I implore all of you to go work an aid station. Even if you haven't done an ultra, go work an aid station. You see some crazy stuff, but if you have run ultras and you've never worked an aid station, go do it. While you're out there, so with these shared experiences, I know I'm elaborate, I'm talking a lot, but you get stories, you meet unique people. I've met rocket scientists, I've met people that were welders, military people, federal people, just people, doctors, nurses, just people from all walks of life. That is so cool. That how did we all find our way into the same path? And you share these stories, these friendships. When COVID started, I made friends with a doctor out there, and he kind of knew a lot about the stuff going on. And I got to run with him for many, many hours. And it was just an extremely unique experience that I got to run 12 hours, almost 50 miles with this guy, and got to talk and know him and fill the video is actually on this channel. If you go back and watch, it's like the 12-hour adventure trail run, one of the many that I've run, but it's on this channel if you want to go find it. So you build these friendships, these personal relationships with people, and you'll see them at different races. I just don't know if that you find that in any other thing in life, because again, we're not competing. There's no one, I've never get with any of my friends and be like, how fast did you run your 50? How fast did you run your 100? It's like, oh, you ran 100, you ran 50. Awesome. Fist bump. Congrats. Got the buckle, you finished. Nice. It's always like that. We don't talk about speed or pace or any of those things. Like, it's just, it's an amazing thing. So, and I mentioned a little bit, I think the third or fourth thing, whatever I'm on now, aid stations. Aid stations are an amazing place. You do not know this before you get into ultramarathons, because when you see aid stations and road races, it's a cup of water. It's almost like faceless people. No, and kudos to the people working those, because it's still difficult. You got to clean up. There's a lot of work, but because the object of what you're doing is to go fast. Like, you don't have time to sit there and hang out at a road race like a marathon. Like, you just get in there and get your water, move on. Aid stations and ultras are like these social hubs where there's love and support, tough love when you need it, people telling you to get off your ass, get out there, and it's needed. And it's like this mini party. Some are like super party atmosphere, some are just super supportive. They take on these personalities of their own. And if you go to these races year after year, certain aid stations at certain races are known for a thing, or they have a theme. People have worked in those aid stations. Aid station captains have been there for years. Like, it's so cool. And you don't experience that in any other facet of life. And I look forward to that. Like aid stations get known for stuff like JFK, like aid stations that are known for like their, velvet cake. And this is where you get what you get when you go to the stations. I can't take the velvet cake anymore. I did that one year and it messed my stomach up. But certain races are known for things. Aid stations are known for things. And you get there, and as soon as you come in, people are taking your water bottles. And what do you need? When you need help, they're popping blisters, changing, helping you with all your stuff. And it's just such a cool thing. These people are volunteering hours and hours and hours and hours long before you get there and long after you leave. They're out there working, cleaning up, setting up, working on you. Like, it's easy to show up to a race and just think this is, my event. I paid for it. You show up, you do your thing, you walk out and leave. But you need to make sure that you thank every single person that volunteers at a race. Thank them. Look them in the eye and say, thank you. Bare minimum. Thanking them when you go on the aid station. Thanking them when you come out, because those people do so much, especially the race directors, everyone that volunteers for the race, to set up these little mini controlled difficulty experiences that we want to put ourselves through. They spend so much time setting these up so that we can go do this. Yes, a lot of them are expensive, but there's a lot that goes into setting up something that is, 31, 50, 20, 100-mile long races. It's just a lot that goes into coordinating all that. And it can't be done without people. And I think that's another part that drives that social atmosphere. So there's always post races, pre-race hangouts, post-race hangouts. So what's awesome about the Yeti, you have pre-packet pickup, drinking beers, picking up your swag, meeting people, seeing, that you've met before, and meeting new people, just talking, sharing stories. Oh, I saw you at this race. I remember seeing you at this race. Oh, I saw your video. I get that all the time. I saw your video. Thank you for recording that video. I learned so much. And the post-race stuff. I don't do too much post-race stuff, but I should take advantage of it more, because typically after that, I got to get back home. But they're like the Yeti 100. They have a post-race. Everybody gets together. They wear their buckles. They go and drink some beers and hang out and do bathroom pictures. And if you know, you know on that. And this kind of the aspect that I wish I would have taken advantage of more, and I need to get better about this, is the communal aspect of training together, group runs, making those friends where you can go do shorter runs and you get to know these people and share stories and share tips and tricks. And trail running and ultra running is about community. At the beginning, it feels like it's about trying to prove that you're somebody who can do these hard things, and it kind of takes over everything. It becomes your personality. Like you want to finish it, and you do it. And when you finish it, sometimes there's just like a letdown, like, okay, what do I do now? And I have found that I enjoy the attempt, the challenge. That is cool. I've done 26 plus ultramarathons, and I love every single one of them because there's been something really good that came from them. Even if I didn't make it, I think I've DNF'd 3 races, and it was some heartbreaking stuff that happened in those, and I don't like doing that, but I have stories from them. I talk to people, hung out, things happen. I have funny stories about all of my very unique funny stories from my DNFs, and I've done videos on all of them here. It's not something to be ashamed of. It happens. You're doing something hard. When you do something hard, when you're doing something that's worth doing, there should be an element of fear and failure involved there, because that's what makes it worth it. This is about community. That's what's awesome. You go out there, you have a great time, and bare minimum, you run 100-milers, and you only make it 12 hours. You ran 12 hours. You ran 50 miles. You met people. You did things. You did more than the people sitting on their ass on the couch. Like, don't be ashamed ever to fail when it comes to ultra running. You're doing hard stuff, because you don't have to do this.
Running ultra marathons inherently can be dangerous. Do I think the risk is super high? No, but that definitely depends on the type of weather, terrain, altitude. All of those factors come into play when you accept the risk for going into an ultra. But I think over the last 11, 12 years of running them, I've escaped, I think, super bad things happening, but you can never tell. You can never predict what's going to happen to you. But at the time, things can really suck. And in this video, I'm going to talk about some of the worst stuff that's happened to me in ultramarathons. And this isn't the worst stuff that can happen. It's just the stuff that I've personally dealt with. And I think I've been pretty lucky. It's pretty out there. I'll tell you, that water feels good. It's like 95 degrees right now. So my first story was the very first race, very first ultra that I ever attempted, which was the Belmont 50 in Virginia. Tough race, double marathon over 2 mountains. So 2 mountains and back over 2 mountains. But it's a sneaky tough course. I like the course. It's kicked my ass twice. But the very first time I got to about mile 40 and had run out of water to do my final ascent up about 12 or 1500 feet, switchback straight up. And I'd run out of water, had been without water for an hour or so. The aid station was at the top of the mountain. I was broken at that point, completely broken. Defeated. Half the field of 80 people had dropped out. I spent most of this race alone, completely alone, other than when I had a pacer here and there. And it really started to mess with my mind. So when I ran out of water, I was legitimately scared. It was my first race, first ultra, and I had to climb this mountain. No water, smoked, and just broken. I ended up sitting down on the on the switchback, and almost in tears. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't have water, and I can't make this climb. I completely convinced myself I wasn't going to make it. So after sitting on the switchback, what felt like 5 or 10 minutes, I kind of mustered up the adrenaline, probably mixed with being scared, thinking, what am I going to do as the temperature drops? Because the temperature's dropping down in the low 40s. Thinking, what am I going to do? Because if I stay here, I'm going to get hypothermic. If I keep moving, I'm getting more dehydrated. And again, mentally, I just wasn't there anymore. Started getting very worried. Had enough in me to get to the top. Like, it was a great moment, defeating that feeling, but it didn't end there. The scaredness didn't end, because I got to the top, was getting hypothermic, knowing I still had probably another 10K or so left in the race. And then I'm dealing with my brain, who is arguing with me about which way to go. Again, I'm not around anybody. The trail had been switched, and a lot of times people get lost because they forget which way to go. And even though I had ribbons, I was convinced people had tore down ribbons, moved them, because I'd heard stories about that. So my mind had kind of manifested the situation, and I almost made the decision to go an opposite way than the course marking, which would have been bad. But I am trained in search and rescue, so I did have enough of the brain left to kind of talk me out of doing that. But I was scared. I was scared out of my mind that I wasn't going to make it, that I was going to get even more hypothermic, and then someone was going to have to come out and get me, which would have been worst case scenario. To be part of search and rescue and to have folks who you've worked with in the past come out and try to find your butt in the woods because you couldn't finish a 50 miler. That wasn't going to happen. But ultimately, I finished not dead last, but I think second or third to last. And it was definitely a learning moment. And I carried that memory with me for the rest of my career, even till this day. And these aren't in any particular order, but the next one I'm going to mention is on that same course. I had gone back many years later to the Belmont 50 and decided I was going to teach it a lesson, because even though I finished the first time, I still felt like the course got the best of me. Went back to the course, tried a new fueling strategy because I was testing supplements for UCAN, and thought I was going to get by fueling on their powder predominantly, and that ended up backfiring on me, and I ended up bonking pretty badly. But that wasn't even the worst part of it. The worst part of it was, again, on the third mountain climb, which was the climb before the one I just told you about. Ran out of water again, and these aid stations are hours and hours apart. It's not a ton of aid stations, even though it isn't out and back. There's a lot of time here alone a lot of time you're alone. And it was, it sucked. I'm running out of water. I'm on a very remote top of the mountain, dying, and it's one of those things where it's cold in the morning. It gets up in probably in the 70s in the afternoon, and it's just sneaky hot. Ran out of water again, trying to hurry up to get to the next aid station, which would have been mile 38. Fell, hurt myself, couldn't descent anymore. So then the speed to get to the next aid station was gone. Couldn't go down the hill, and didn't work out. Did not work out. Ended up falling again. Got so dehydrated. I'd been without water for a couple hours, and I was yelling. I'd stopped and was yelling down the trail just to hear if anybody was around me, because I needed water. Like, I was that desperate, being without water. And I train a lot without water. I'll go on long runs without it. Safety, I mean, I can get to water if I need to, but I try to push myself sometimes to see how far I can go. And ended up getting to the cutoff, not in time, into the aid station, not in time, probably within a couple minutes, getting cut, getting dropped from the race, and having a wonderful angel there that was able to drive us back to the start, me and two other guys, because it was not an aid station you were going to drop at. I think I had another 3 or 4 miles. For some reason, those two were close together to the actual drop. I couldn't do it, so ended up dropping a race that I'd finished as my first ultra. Was not only demoralizing, it was just a little bit embarrassing. I've told the story. I actually have a great video on here, a little documentary about it, so if you're interested, you can go find that on the channel. But and it will tell you more about what happens in this race in detail. But that was definitely one of the more scary things that happened to me, one of the more demoralizing bad things that happened to me in ultramarathons. Now, I think I've done right around 26 ultramarathons, so even if it was just 2, had 26, if something bad happened, that's doing really well. But I think last year I was doing the Devil Dog 100, and this one's kind of funny, but also it sucks. I was running in that race at the very beginning. I was probably within the first half marathon of that 100-miler, and caught the elastic, the nylon or whatever you want to call it, string that goes under your gaiters, that goes under your shoe. I had recently worn through the REI gaiters that I had, and thought, you know what, I'm gonna buy some thicker ones. Went to REI, bought some things that were not technically laces for those. Replaced the part that runs underneath the shoe, a little thicker, good to go. Not even a thought about it. I actually thought I outsmarted the universe with that one. I think right around mile 13, was running. That string, because it was now thicker, didn't snap when a root caught it that was kind of pointing down trail, snagged it, and I ate it. Twisted my ankle. Had enough adrenaline. It was like, I don't know, 20 something degrees. Had enough cold and adrenaline going at the time that at that time it didn't really hurt that much. I could tell I tweaked something, but nothing broken. So as the day goes on, I think I get in the mile 40 something, start to get to the point where tactical trail, I just couldn't put my foot down where I needed to. It started getting a little dangerous because there were some pretty tactical parts in that race, and I ended up dropping about halfway through that race, maybe after halfway. I don't know if it was closer to 100K, but it was something that took me out of a race. That was stupid. It was scary through the tactical parts because I was slowing down so much and really being worried about, like, am I really gonna have to drop this race all of a sudden because I can't put my foot down? And this started getting a little hectic because I literally was tripping over rocks, and these are sections of a trail that you can't trip because if you go off the edge, it's going to be a very bad day for you. And that was demoralizing, especially for 100. A lot of work goes into 100, a lot of money, a lot of work, a lot of planning, and to have your day end over something so stupid that was preventable just sucks. A lot of things can happen in an ultra. You know, the higher the distance you go, the more things that leave you that can happen, and you're open to more risk. So my advice on that is really try to think about as much as you can. You can't think of it all, and even when you do think of it, that thing might be the thing that takes you out of the race, just like me. Those little guys are cute. Shows you a little there. This next one was one that didn't happen in a race. It happened in the training. You know what? I'll tell you that one after this one. Since it's not directly tied to a race, I'll tell you that race, but it was a pretty bad one. It was actually the scariest thing that's happened to me yet. And it happened in a training run. But this next one happened several years ago in the adventure trail run. It's a 24-hour adventure trail run in Virginia also. Just basically a 6.25 mile loop. And it's got about 800 feet of vert per lap. It's a tough course. It shares a lot of the same course as the Devil Dog 100. Not a lot of it, but some of it. The worst parts of it, it shares. And it was a year where typically we get cold in the morning, cold in the evening, but the day heats up into maybe the low 70s. So, but that feels like 95 when you're in an ultra. And I overheated, I don't think, maybe mile 35. Got heat stroke. Got to the point where I was so bad I didn't think I was actually going to be able to make the 2-ish miles back to the start-stop line. It was brutal. Was having GI issues and overheated, having to stop, go to the bathroom, sit, and just be so overheated that I was literally contemplating that someone was going to have to bring a stretcher out and get me, which again would be humiliating that I couldn't be able to finish under my own power. But had my buddy Joe, who, if you follow this channel long enough, you know who he is, Joe Kern. He was with me. We kind of stuck by me in that. And you all wonder why I stuck by him in the first Yeti where we ended up dropping in the hurricane. I'll tell that story too. But in this particular case, I ended up slowly but surely getting out of the woods, the super technical climbing around rocks, down rocks, swinging off trees, all the rest of the nonsense to get back there. Got to the river, the bridge, climbed down to the river underneath it to dip my body and my head and all that stuff in the water to try to bring my body temperature down. It smoked me good. That was actually scary, because you all know when you get heat stroke and some bad things can happen. So one thing I've always told my wife is I will do things that are stupid, that most people may consider stupid, not ultra runners, but I won't do anything that's dangerous. That's where I draw the line. If I feel like something's getting dangerous, I pull the plug, live to fight another day. Not like for me, but for my family. That race legitimately scared me, and that's why I made the list. Turtle. Hey, buddy. Oh, box turtle. Pretty good size. Can't help you. You're on the other side of this fence. I take you up to the little stream right there. You got this, dude. I know it's hot. Now, the next story is well documented on this channel, and I actually have a documentary about it also. And that was the Yeti 100 about 3 years ago or so. And it was the year that we had the hurricane hit, or one of the years we had a hurricane hit. And it started raining about mile 50, had a great day, probably had one of the best days running in an ultra that I'd ever had. Everything is going good. Got to like mile 56 and sun had set. Started to ascend up the mountain that you start from in the Yeti 100, and it was coming down sideways. The rain was coming down sideways. Wind, rain, and my buddy Joe, who I mentioned before, started getting hypothermic. It didn't take long. As soon as your core got wet, you were done for. If you stopped for any amount of time, you were done for. It just was a recipe and for disaster, and 50% of the field dropped that night because of that, which is a race that probably has a 70 and above % finish rate. It's not technically a difficult course. It's difficult because it's 100 miles, but to have that many people drop tells you how bad it was on the mountain. Super scary. Joe is jackhammering, obviously hypothermic, and we go to get back on the trail. He would have got, had I told Joe you're good to go, he would have went. I don't think it would have ended well for both of us. At that point, we were moving too slow to get warm, and at that point, once you start jackhammering, your day's over with. So we had to wait a couple hours for who is now his wife, his girlfriend then, to come get us. No cell signal. It was not a droppable aid station, which I still to this day say they should have done that because of the weather. And could hardly get a hold of her. Finally, after a couple hours, she was able to come get us. And luckily, she was able to take 3 of us that dropped at that aid station off the mountain that night. I was hypothermic by the time she got there because the fire was very minimal because of the rain. And it was a rough night. It was a scary night. It was disappointing into a lot of training, a lot of planning, and looking forward to finishing that first Yeti 100. But good news is next year came back. We both finished. It was a great day, and it's definitely one of my favorite moments. And Ultramarathons was finishing that race with Joe. Both those videos are on this channel. If you go find them, I'll link them all down below in the description. So I've heard a lot of pretty scary stories and ultras from being on mountains with lightning and all kinds of different stuff. Bear sightings, wild animal sightings, close encounters, major injuries at the top of mountains and having to be pulled off. I've heard all the stuff. That's all the stuff that sits in my mind when I'm on the top of these mountains and in these races. That starts to kind of amp things up in your brain and give you all the anxiety of thinking the worst is going to happen. But with some foresight, some planning, some understanding of the risk, kind of minimizes that stuff. This particular story was one I was training for Marine Corps Marathon. I had already started ultras, but I was particularly in this instance training for the Marine Corps Marathon. And this is probably 10 years ago, maybe 7 years ago. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. And it was a nice, easy 19-mile long run, LSR, long, slow run. And it was cool. Overcast, super humid though. One of those days where it's overcast, the sun's not out, you still feel hot and you're sweating like crazy. And finished the run, took two like 20 something ounce bottles, finished one of them, because I got back there and finished the run and nothing seemed to matter. I went in the shower, took my shower, got out, went to pee and peed blood. That scared me. It was alarming. Went and told my wife I needed to go to the urgent care, which I did. And they told me that I was extremely dehydrated, dangerously dehydrated, obviously, from the pee in my blood. And they put 2 full IV bags into my system. That definitely helped me pee. But that was the moment that I realized how dangerous dehydration is and how seriously you should take it, even when you don't feel thirsty. Even when the conditions don't feel like they are going to cause you to potentially get yourself into trouble, even worse, medical trouble. So from that point on, I always made sure that I really made sure that I went into a run fully hydrated, that I had water, I had access to water, and that I stayed hydrated because I was at a critical point. I could have had anything that happened to you when you have a severe dehydration, and I wouldn't have even known it. It wouldn't even been why I wouldn't even thought that's what was going on. So definitely a lesson learned there. Now this next scary thing happened also on video. This happened, I think in 2019. I was just starting my comeback from a long layoff from running out on the trails, and had sub-freezing temperatures. So there was a lot of ice on the rocks. River was freezing up in the training park in Prince William Park. And was running in non-running shoes because of the weather. I didn't put on trail shoes. I don't know what I was thinking. Swore regular, I think some Mizuno riders, not their fault, but chose the wrong shoe. Got up on a big rock that I've filmed on hundreds of times over the years, over the last decades, to stand on it, to kind of do one of these cool things in the middle of the river. And when I stepped on it, immediately slipped off the face of this big rock, hit my shin on the rock, split my shin open really goodly, really badly. Oh man, Trump came out on that one. Bigly hurt myself. I hit the rock, on all fours, bam, slid down the rock, fell into the freezing cold river, all at one time, holding my camera, water bottle, fell into the river, and that was a shock to the system. Luckily, where I landed was only about waist deep, so I was able to pull myself together, and I felt nothing but pain. This pain from my elbow where it's smashed. I had, I think the thumbnail of the video is me going like this, and it's just blood streaming down me, down my shin, down my arm. I get out of the water. The temperature was just so low. Water felt like needles stabbing into you when you hit it. Got out of the water, start walking, and I can't walk. I'm probably about 2 miles from where I parked in the trail, and I legitimately didn't think I was gonna be able to make it back. The pain was so severe. My shin bone felt like I'd shattered it. So I was gingerly walking on it. It was so cold, so cold. And I walked probably about a quarter of a mile. As things started to loosen up, I started going, well, I'm already out here. It doesn't feel like I've broken anything. I'm bleeding profusely. Blood's running down my leg, into my shoe, into my sock. It's running down my arm, down my side, blood everywhere. But this was a training run, and I seemed to be okay, other than bleeding a lot. I had a huge goose egg on my shin where it split it open, and continued on my run. To me, it was a win because I didn't get that hurt. But when I was passing people on the trail, people kept asking me, are you okay? Because I looked like an absolute crime scene. This blood all over my body, and it wasn't coagulating, so I was still just bleeding everywhere. Finished the run. That video is out there too. I need to find that one. That will take some digging because that was a long time ago. But it was definitely scary. It taught me to be more aware, not become complacent in places I train all the time and do things that may be risky, but I don't think that it is because I've done it so many times. Well, that was the time. I almost paid the ultimate price. Had I hit that water and hit my head instead of my elbow, knocked me out, and I landed in that water, whether it was frozen or not, that would have been the end of me. And what a stupid way to go. Running and ultra running is mostly safe. You can complicate things by making poor decisions. You can complicate things by trying extremely hard races, hard things in remote areas and dangerous places. And you know, we accept that risk in ultras, so we just do. But mostly it's safe. But I think you all should learn from the stories out there, learn from your own mistakes. I know I have. I try to minimize them, especially as I get older, because I don't bounce back as much, not as quick.
Then so.
I haven't lost too many steps, but I'm not as quick. Even I can admit that.
Running 100 miles is an extraordinary feat. It's difficult no matter how you slice it, no matter the version, whether it's in the mountains or it's a rail to trail. Running 100 miles is difficult, but I'm going to give you my 3 top tips, the things that I hate the most about running 100 miles. How do I solve those problems? So the very first thing I hate the most about running 100 miles is the sleep deprivation. Obviously, we all deal with that at some point in our life, but in 100 miles, it's exceptionally difficult because not only are you running, for those of us that are 24 hours and above, not only are you running all day, but then you got to stay up through the night. And so the trick that I found most useful for me is not really taking in caffeine for the first 12 hours. So when night falls, you know, I've pretty much had almost no caffeine, a little bit at the start, but I haven't been taking caffeine pills or caffeine gels all day, and then, you know, having to then take them at night and it not be as effective. When I take caffeine in a race, I really want it to be effective. So the trick that I learned is that when I get to about 6 a.m., 7 a.m., that's when I take a 5-hour energy. That basically made me have so much energy I felt better from that point, from sunrise. So basically sunrise, whatever sunrise is, whatever time period that is for you when you're in a race, 4-hour energy, 5-hour energy, whichever one it is, you take that and you feel like $1,000,000. I did, and I will forever use that trick to survive the night. The night's just tough. I mean, getting through the night itself, you could probably take caffeine, but I didn't feel like I needed to. My body kind of went in this hallucinogenic state, and just had to survive. It was rough. That's the worst part about running 24-hour plus races, is the night for me. Second is bonking. Bonking is the worst. Above all things, feeling like crap, feeling like your day's over. And I know if you're a runner, you've hit it, whether it's in marathons or ultramarathons. And what I found most useful is, and it's taken me a lot of years to really just become disciplined to do it, which is eat from the very beginning, fuel from the very beginning, even when you don't feel like you need it. I know most of us probably train a lot without taking in a whole lot in the first 15 to 20 miles, but you really need to eat early, eat often, even when you don't really feel like it, even when you don't feel good, you don't feel like you can eat, you gotta eat. And that will help you feel better. It always makes me feel better. If you're feeling bad in ultra, eat. More than likely, that's gonna make you feel better. And know how many calories you burn. I know it's kind of difficult. Your body can really only process about 400 calories an hour. I'm a bigger guy, so I think I burn more than that, but my stomach gets all backed up if I try to eat too much. So I try to take in a good, 2 to 350 about every 45 minutes, give myself some time to kind of digest. I get to the aid station, I start eating, and then I take some stuff on leaving the aid station, and I walk. I use that time to kind of eat, get it down, get it into my stomach, and then I just kind of take it easy. Then I start to work back up to running and my run walk scenario situation, whatever I'm doing at that point. But I got to give myself time to get the food in my stomach, let it settle, and move on. The third tip, if you've been running, it doesn't any distance, chafing is the absolute worst. And I've made whole videos, and I'll link to it in the description, but on how to not chafe, and I've done pretty good. So pretty much you take so much lube. When you think you've lubed too much, lube more. I mean, every part, and I say this all the time, that jiggles, swings, swangs, touches, rubs, anything, and you put more lube on that part, multiple parts, than you think you can fit. I mean, it should be running down your legs. No, I'm just kidding. But it should be to the point where you have so much lube that nothing can cause chafing. I cut the liners out of my shorts. I get, Mizuno has sent me shorts on this channel, and I cut the liners out of it. I think the liners cause more problems than anything. I wear compression shorts underneath, running shorts with no liner, and I don't have any chafing. Chafe all of your parts, especially guys. Chafe the tips, the sides, all of it. Women, I'm not sure what you have to lube, but I'm sure you got stuff to lube, and I'll leave that to you all to handle. I'm a guy. I don't know, but I have an imagination. Is that the right term? I have an imagination? I can think of it. But honestly, lube it all, and I promise you, the liners, all that stuff. If you have your hydration vest, those can rub on you. Lube your lats. If you haven't run for that amount of time, you really gotta understand that if you've worn your vest in training and you've never run it past 4, 5, 10 hours, 12, 20 hours, it's gonna rub. So you got to make sure that you adjust your pack as you're running also. So as if it's one in the back that the weight shifts, from having water in it or not water in it, more food or stuff in it, you just got to constantly adjust to make sure that it's fitted tightly so you don't chafe in your back. I've seen some nasty stuff out there, and you know who you are, that have had some major chafing. I've heard people not chafe their cheeks, and they fuse together overnight. You got to get up in there. I bring rubber gloves, and I put them in all my aid station drop bags and containers, so if I have to lube the kind of less sanitary areas, I'm putting the gloves on and applying it liberally. Hundreds are difficult, but you don't have to make them more difficult by making dumb mistakes. And literally those three things are probably 75% of the mistakes I've made in ultras that have helped me in pretty much any distance in ultra marathon. So if you have any tips and tricks that you've learned over the years, please share them below, because I like to share all of this stuff with everybody in the community, because it's fun to run 100 miles, to run ultras, but it's not so fun to learn by mistakes. And if you could help somebody else by sharing your failures. And so with me, even when I've known things that you need to do, I've still not done them, because you get in that kind of ultra mind state and you feel like, you know, it's not going to be that big of a deal. I leave my toes now. I eat from the beginning. I limit my caffeine instead of just taking it all day. And it took me a lot of years to figure that stuff out, because it really does matter. I know we're all an experiment of one, from what we take, from where we chafe, from how well we handle sleep deprivation. But I think most of us could probably benefit from heeding this advice. I think if you're looking to run a 100 miler, it's so exciting and there's so much to learn, but take out the easy stuff and just deal with the hard stuff. Don't make the same mistakes I did. Have fun out there, and I'll talk to you soon. Later.